Okay, and go live also. Okay. Okay, so we are also live on Instagram. Okay, that's great. That's great. So we're live on YouTube, on Instagram, on LinkedIn. Everybody, hello and welcome. In today's episode, we are thrilled to welcome Dr. Martina Pesic, a leading negotiation expert, executive advisor, and keynote speaker with over 17 years of experience in complex negotiations. Martina has revolutionized the way her clients approach value-based sales and strategic negotiations. As the founder and CEO of MP Consult, she has developed groundbreaking methods, including her signature value negotiating approach. I would like personally to know more about this, which actually focuses on creating value for all parties involved rather than just reaching compromise. I love the idea. Martina brings a unique perspective to the negotiation table, combining practical experience, spending up to 70% of her time in real-world negotiations with deep academic insights. She is a PhD in this. Her doctoral research on emotions and negotiations adds a vital layer to her work, utilizing emotional intelligence to gain strategic advantages, even in high-stakes, conflict-rich scenarios. In this interview, Martina will share her approach to crafting negotiation strategies that deliver sustainable success and exceptional results. Her insights on emotional dynamics in negotiations and practical tips for elevating negotiation skills. Get ready for an insightful conversation with one of the top voices in negotiation. She is absolutely amazing, and she is so loved on LinkedIn. Martina, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much.
I still sometimes hesitate to say Martina or Dr. Pesic, so forgive me for that. Martina, please tell us about your personal journey and what brought you to be who you are today.
Yes, actually it started already when I was a kid. Like normal kids, they go to playgrounds with nannies, and I actually went to the flower shop of my mother. So after kindergarten, after school, every day I was in the flower shop of my mother, and she always said, Martina, we are selling something nobody really needs. It's luxury, and it's luxury that even wanes. So everybody has money that comes in. Our aim is to take as much money as possible from the people, but so that they're happy and that they're recommending us again and that they're happy to come back to our flower shop again. So I really learned from small, as a small kid already, how important it is to really give customers a value, to really propose a value and to really make them happy and content and make them feel at home in your place. And this is actually also the basis of my negotiation approach today. I was as a kid, I was already really flushed from this perspective of negotiating, of convincing other parties, of really getting what I want from others by influencing them. And during my school and also university times, I was always like working on something, always having some small businesses on the side, and always being very entrepreneurial in all those businesses. And yes, actually, I continued my journey after I wrote my PhD on emotions and negotiations in diverse companies, and I was always the chief negotiation officer in the background. Even though we didn't call it officially this way, because this might actually intimidate the negotiation partner. So this is already a tip, like be as humble as possible when you enter a negotiation table, because in negotiations, it's not about the ego, it's about really creating value and getting the other party to trust you, and to find common ground, and also to invite the other party to share their needs and their concerns, so that you're able to really create value for both and to make a good deal for both sides. So this is really essential, and this is also part of my approach.
That's absolutely amazing. Thank you for those insights about your life, how you grew up and how you became the wonderful negotiator you are. To start with, I'd like to ask you about emotions. Mm-hmm. How do emotions influence negotiations? And how can emotions be managed for successful outcomes of the negotiations? And by successful, of course, I mean something that satisfies both parties.
Yes, and emotions are central to the way we make decisions, often surfacing needs that might not be visible on a rational level. My approach to value negotiating involves recognizing these emotional dynamics and using them strategically. By reading emotional cues and understanding their origins, I create an environment where genuine value can emerge, transferring potential conflicts into mutual opportunities for long-term success.
Amazing. Yesterday, I made a presentation at the university, and among others, actually, it was about how companies and how decision makers in companies take decisions to go global or not. Like, for example, a French company that decides to go and open a branch in Germany or in the UK. And one of the things that actually I came up in that presentation, which is like the article, is that very often actually there is a cognitive process, a psychological mechanism that's working behind, and it's not really very well understood how they take those decisions. So I'm more than happy having this discussion with you today. Maybe this can help me understand better. Can you please tell me, in your experience, can you share key principle from your doctoral research or your experience working with your partners on emotions in negotiations? And I would draw my own parallel on emotions, how decision makers decide to go global, and how actually that shaped your own approach to negotiation.
Yes, the important thing. The important thing to know about emotions negotiation is that every decision is first taken emotionally and then rationalized quasi on a rational level. So first, the decision is taken emotionally. So that means every decision at its heart is emotional, and this is quite important to know. And the problem we face in negotiations when negotiations get very emotional, and that's what I call the refractory phase. So this is also one principle of my research that I analyzed. This is actually the emotional peak that would disrupt productive negotiation. So what is important? It's important to time those responses, your responses, and moderating discussions during these phases. And when you do this, you can help maintain a steady collaborative atmosphere. It's actually all about balancing empathy with precision to enable honest dialogue and establish trust. So this is really important. So when your negotiation partner really gets emotional, you should not ignore it. You should really either make a pause or ask him directly. Or I have the impression that maybe I overstepped something. Can you please tell me what your issue is? What concerns you? This is really important because I really want to understand what is important to you. And if I sidestepped or if I overstepped, I want to really honestly excuse myself and ask for forgiveness, and let us discuss it and find a common solution. And then it's really important to let the other party really talk to the end, because when the other party is really angry, they need room to really get rid of those anger. And the most important thing is not to disrupt the other party in this process. So when you realize, okay, the party is at the bottom and he or she is more relaxed, and you see, okay, she's not angry anymore so much, then you can start to put it to guide the conversation into a constructive direction again. But before that, it's really not helping, because in the refractory phase, everything that gets in is filtered through the emotion I feel currently.
This is really surprising. I'm still trying to digest everything that you said. So if I understood correctly, and I'm trying to recapitulate, you're saying that usually all our decisions, in the first place, they are emotional. Mm-hmm. And then we think and we try to logically justify what we have decided.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
At the heart, it's emotion.
It's in the heart, it's emotion. And that's the funny thing. I just had, was it yesterday or the day before? I had a very the day before. I had a very interesting talk on an M&A negotiation event, and there I was talking about emotions in M&A negotiations. And the funny thing was they were all experienced people in the room, and everybody thinks they are rational. But the funny thing is, even though you want to be rational, at the heart you're not. Because there's also a very nice, very interesting study of Antonio Damasio, who had a patient called Elliot, who had his emotional area destroyed after an accident, and he was really perfectly able to analyze things, to calculate things. So his really intellectual, rational part was intact, but the emotional part was destroyed. And this person was unable to really to really make the easiest decisions. So which shoes should I put on? What should I eat? What should I order in a restaurant? Like, he was completely lost, and actually he really needs help from other people, even though he's still intelligent and everything is intact. And you can also have a wonderful conversation with him on a very high level. But as soon as he has to take decisions, it's over. And this is actually interesting, because if you want your client to buy something, there's no way without emotion. So you have always first to address the emotion, and then, of course, we always post-rationalize every decision. We are very good in that, and we always think that was a very rational decision. But the first moment, the moment we take the decision, it's an emotional moment.
This is really surprising for me to start with, because I thought, like, at least for decision makers at a certain level, there is proper analysis, proper collection of data, analysis of the data, and then a reasonable decision. But actually now I'm learning from you that mostly this is actually an emotional decision, and then we try to justify.
Yes, actually, there's a reason. An emotional decision can still be reasonable, like make reason. Emotions actually help us prioritize. So if we have decisions, for example, world wars, it's actually important to understand the consequences of our decisions. So yes, emotions are also helping to say, okay, do I want to see all those people die just because of my ego? Maybe not. Maybe I try to find a constructive solution and to avoid war, because actually I feel something for my people, and I feel something also for I can empathize with the other party and also understand the needs of the other party. And I really put a lot of passion in finding another solution, because I'm really emotionally triggered that I want to avoid this really the worst case scenario.
That's absolutely amazing insights. Thank you very much so far for sharing all of this. Okay. Just with respect to our younger and more junior maybe watchers today, please, when you use something like, for example, an M&A discussion, maybe kindly just share this is mergers and acquisition, just to help everybody and make sure everybody understands what we're talking about.
Yes.
Okay. Yes. And my next question actually would like to focus on this. So first of all, what is value-based sales? What is your own approach to value-based sales? Then how do you guide companies, partners, customers to actually develop their own value-based sales?
Mm-hmm. Value-based sales is about redefining the conversation. It's less about the price and more about mutual benefits. In my trainings, I focus on uncovering the unique impact a company solution can have, diving into the core needs of their customers. This clarity allows for the offers that are perceived as mere transactions. So it is important that your offer is not perceived as a mere transaction, but as a solution with long-term potential, making it easier to establish trust and commitment. So this is, in my opinion, this is the most important thing. And you actually always have two phases. When people ask me what I do in my profession, I always say there are negotiations. In my approach, there are two phases. The first phase is the pie that we enlarge with integrative potential. So what I mean about that is about creating value for both sides, also uncovering value that is not visible yet, but that gets visible during the conversation, during the trust we develop, and during the openness we share our needs and our concerns. So this is the first phase, enlarging the pie and creating value. And the second part is when we really have like managed to get all the potential and really optimize the cake and really have a layer of cream and some nice cherries on the top. If we realize to do that, then the final stage is, how do we distribute the cake? So of course, when there is more cake to distribute, the probability is also higher that we will get to a final deal closing stage. So when there is a lot of cake, of course, I can make sure that my clients get a bigger part. So that's the second thing. So enlarging the cake and distributing the cake and making sure that my client has the bigger part in the end. So
Okay.
plain and simple. And that the other party is still happy with the result. That's super important as well, because we see each other always a second time. And especially in today's long-term relationships and more and more strategic partnerships that we pursue, it is super important that we create value that is long-lasting and to really get a hook of the other party to want to come back and make business with us again.
Martina, especially in high tension discussions and where the stakes are very high, a lot of negotiators feel that there is a need to be a bit more assertive. Let's not say aggressive, but assertive. While at the same time showing some empathy maybe to the other party in order to try to win something. How do you balance this? Assertiveness on one side and empathy on the other side.
Yeah. Well, true assertiveness is rooted in understanding the other party's needs and aligning them with our own, actually. And empathy here is a strategic tool, not a compromise, that helps establish a common foundation. So this is also important to know. And by respecting the other, by respecting the other counterpart's goals, by clearly presenting our own value, I create an environment where assertiveness is not about dominance, but about shared ambition. So you have to make sure that you don't have how do you say, a competitor on the other side, but to have a partner, and to really make sure to share the common goal and always to focus on things you have in common with the other party. And as long as the other party sees the bigger aim and sees the value in it and wants to pursue it, you can always find a solution in the smaller bits. So always focus on the big goal and make sure that you find that you find a communicative approach where you can make sure that you both perceive the goal as common and as valid for both parties.
Okay. How much do you prepare for a negotiation? Let's say, maybe not a multinational, but for a smaller company, how much would you prepare for the negotiation?
Yeah. Actually, I would say that like my rule of thumb here is always actually 90% preparation and 10% negotiation. And of course, it depends how complex the negotiation is. This is a rule of thumb. I have like complex mergers and acquisitions negotiations where this preparation part can be much higher. But we also have like easier negotiations where you can maybe also only take, for example, 3 or 4 hour preparation for 1 hour negotiation time. So, but as a rule of thumb, it's 9-1, I would say. And then you are on the safe side. Yeah.
Do you feel sometimes that you're taking some from your professional experience to your own personal life and you're using your negotiation skills even when talking to family and friends?
And the problem is, I always think this is so unfair, because I think that as a private person, I'm not such a I'm not such a sleek negotiator and always looking to get the best deal. But I'm really interested in the other party, and I really want to find a common ground and a good solution. And actually, I very often also see myself giving actually in a private negotiation, because I mean, are we going to watch this movie? Okay, well, I try to be convincing if it's very important for me. But if it's not important to me, it's also a pleasure for me to see my friends and my family happy. So you always have to think about what is value for yourself. And in negotiation is always some sort of conflict, and it's always you always have the two aims, like the two conflicts: power, assertiveness versus relationship. So in the private context, I'm ready to go more into the relationship direction, and maybe sometimes giving in more. In a professional context, of course, I'm more assertive, but I try to do it with being charming and being nice and being empathetic to the other side. So it doesn't feel so hard, but I'm very assertive in my business negotiations. And I have the impression that I'm not so much in my private negotiations, but still my family, they always say, when they don't have actually I'm quite good in argumenting, of course, and finding like weak spots. This is something I can't really put aside privately. I just take it home, of course, yes, okay. But what really angers me sometimes, if my family then says, yeah, you, Martina, when they don't have anything to counter my arguments, they always say, Martina, yeah, of course you're a negotiation expert. It's clear that you always have to have the upper part and that you always get what you want. And it's so funny. It's always in the end of the discussions when they don't have any arguments left, and when they see, okay, there's nothing we can do more, and then we try to get her emotionally. And then sometimes I'm in my refractory phase as well, because I'm also a human being. And in the private encounter, I also, yeah, actually there is a reason why I wrote my PhD on emotions and negotiation. For me, emotions are a very vital part in the life, and it's not only important for negotiations and creating conflicts negotiations, but it's also a big chance to really influence other people and to really also create happiness in the world. to think bigger. So negotiation does not need to be a conflict. It can be also a common, I don't know, like a common path to solutions where you work together for a common goal and to find a collaborative approach to get the ability for both parties to get what they want. That's very often the case, and that's what we also call the fixed pie assumption, that people think what we have on a negotiation table is fixed, and we actually we have to really argue on dividing the pie. And this is different with my approach. I always say the division part comes later. Let's create a really big pie, because there's always something, there's always differences and preferences that we can trade off and really create a bigger pie that is sometimes so big that we even can't eat it. So that would be the perfect result. Yeah.
And I can imagine this is why actually you need a lot of time for the preparation, at least, as you said, 9 times more than the actual negotiation itself. Without getting too technical, we don't want to steal your job, but can you please share what are like the most important elements of your preparation for a negotiation? What do you prepare? How do you prepare?
Mm-hmm. Well, first of all, you need to understand, like like on my client side, I make sure that my client understand what he really wants. What is his position? Position can be, I don't know. I want this price, so I want 10% more. I want 10% less. Whatever it is the position. So this is already important to really know what you want. But the more important thing is, why do you want this? Why is it so important? What are your real needs behind your position? What are your concerns, needs, wishes? This is important to actually find other options to reach the aim. For example, if you have a salary negotiation, it can be, I don't know, I want to gain 100K per year. This is one position, but like, why do you want to gain it? Well, it's a question of appreciation. Well, it's a question of getting the better projects. When I'm in that level, I will get better projects. So, okay, you want better projects. You want recognition. You want to further develop. Okay, maybe it's also an option to get, I don't know, 90,000 and to get a budget for trainings and to get a budget for coaching and to get the better projects. You can discuss about projects. You can put that into the negotiation ring. There are so many more things that you can, so many more solutions that you can create when you understand your needs behind your position. So this is the first thing. You need to understand really what you want and why you want it. And the what you want, this is another thing. In my experience, people very often tend to have very realistic aims. And what I always say, try to get ambitious aims. Because why is this so important? Because when you go to a negotiation table, the other party also wants to win somehow. So I know that, and the funny thing, this is a bit paradox, I guess, because most of the people think, well, I already know what will happen. I will have people will say this and that, and then I will have a conflict. And this is so, I don't like conflicts, and I don't want to have this bad situation. And I think when I come with a realistic, with a fair offer, the other side will be super happy. And actually, quite the contrary is the case, because when you also come in and frame it with a fair offer, fair is very emotional, because fairness is very subjective. So the other party might immediately go into a refractory phase, because she said, you really think this is fair? And then we have a problem. So please don't use fair or emotional loaded words. I would really recommend not to do that. And really set up an ambitious goal, because when you go into negotiation with an ambitious goal, you give the party the pleasure to negotiate you down and to have a win. Because when you go with realistic aim, there is not much room for negotiation, and the party will actually be less happy, because they think, okay, what's my gain? 2%? I can't even tell this to my boss. I'm super embarrassed. I mean, my colleagues always have 15%. I have 2%. This is a joke. I mean, maybe I will even get fired. I will be the lowest performer because of this. So you always have to put yourself in the shoes of the other person and understand also how the incentive and bonus systems are at the other party. And actually, here comes trust. Trust is super important. So if you have a good relationship, you can maybe go to a coffee or lunch and ask, hey, please be honest to me. Like, tell me, how can I help you? What do you need? How can you create this deal so that you can like shine with your boss? I mean, you shouldn't say that this way. It depends how close you are to your negotiating partner. But if you have a good relationship, you can signalize, okay, help me, help you. So that we can create a deal that's really good, because there is possibilities for that. So ambitious goal. Also, the other thing is, people always think when we break up a negotiation, this is a bad thing. Of course, you would expect something else. But imagine you have a product for 100 euros that costs you 100 euros, and the other party offers you 90. Then it's actually better to get up and leave the negotiation table, because otherwise you will have 10 euros damage that you take from the negotiation table. So it is important to really know what your walkaway point is before you enter negotiations. So this is a really crucial part during the preparation phase. So to know, for example, okay, below 100 euro, it just doesn't make sense. Yeah. And this decision has to be taken in a cool environment where you can think things through, and also have the strategic considerations in mind. Because when you're in a negotiation, you're immediately in a high conflict situation, and your cognition is really super busy in getting all the relevant information and to really processing everything that is important for your negotiation. So you really have to know, what is your ambitious goal, what is your walkaway point, what is your position, and why do you want something. So what are your possible alternatives to this negotiation? So that's the most important things. And of course, we can talk for 2 hours what is else important and how you can do that concretely. But this is actually the most important thing, I would say.
That's great. That's absolutely great. Thank you very much for sharing those insights.
You're welcome.
Frankly, I'm thinking also, as I'm listening to you, I'm thinking in terms of being a CEO of my own company. And I'm saying to myself, it would be great to have such a wonderful professional for any big negotiation. But I can imagine that a lot of companies, frankly, cannot afford you. So what would you advise those small startups who do not have the resources, but would like actually to be able to improve their game at negotiation? Is there a book you can recommend? Is there a course you can recommend?
Well, I think this is quite difficult. In my opinion, there's not the one book that I would recommend. I would actually recommend to go to training, or maybe like at least to send one person to a training. Or like if you have a negotiation, a really concrete negotiation that is quite important to you. I almost never saw a situation where the ROE is not so much higher. Getting a negotiation expert to really prepare yourself and to get like a lot more in your negotiation process. So this is actually, my profession is super easy also to explain because it's always measurable. It's measurable. So and that's why clients are always, most of my clients are repetitive clients because they worked once with me. They saw, okay, there's an IRE. I gain so much more when I work with her than the invest I need in taking into her. So this is quite clear. Yeah, and then, I mean, for example, listening to those LinkedIn lives we do right now, you can already get some information. There's also some free information available. To be honest, ChatGPT is not a good source. I tried, to be honest, I also try everything out. It is a very specialized area, and there's a lot of wrong information around. And it's not, the worst thing is not everything is applicable for every situation, because every situation is individual. So you need to adapt the approach. You need to know which tactics work, which not, because I really have negotiation where I have like 180 degrees contrary like tactics I use. Because the situation is completely different, because the personalities on the other side are completely different. And so actually I would really recommend to invest into a coaching, in a tailored coaching, because, for example, when I work with new clients, I don't start at zero. I start at their level. So that might be experience, that might be maybe even 70%. And we optimize until, really, we try to get until 100 or 90, 95%. 100 is always difficult, but 90, 95%. And this is really tailored. I would say this is the most effective thing. Why? Because it is perfectly adapted to your situation, to your personality, to your preferred negotiation style. And once you have this knowledge, there's a really you can always profit in the future more and more, because it's like putting money on the bank. You always get more money in the end. So when you use this negotiation skills, you will get, you don't only use it for one case, but you use it for every future case you have. So you have the return on invest really multiplied in the end. So yeah, the earlier you start, the better it is for you, I would say. That's what I recommend.
Okay. How do you help your clients identify their unique strengths in a negotiation, and how do you help them prepare for the negotiation with this strength?
I would say especially women and men have different approaches that they feel comfortable with. Women, they don't like conflict so much. Or many men also don't, but women especially don't. They feel uncomfortable, and that's one of the main reasons why women negotiate far less than males. It's actually 4 times less than their male colleagues, for example. And for me, it's very important to understand, okay, what is the preferred style. For example, if I have someone who's more like, I don't know, who's more an introvert, who doesn't really like to be pushy or to really be aggressive in negotiation, you can convince the other party. Then we work on questions that she or he can ask, like how can you increase the pie by really asking the right question, getting the relevant information, and then creating a deal or an offer that is irresistible, where you don't need to negotiate so hard in the end because the other party is already hooked in. So this would be, for example, one part. And what we also train is, of course, you can always, even if you are like a person, an introvert that doesn't like conflict and doesn't like too much negotiation and is quite easily intimidated, you also can face on the other side a very dominant person, a very assertive, a very aggressive person. And also for these situations, because you shouldn't be naive, those situations may come because people might feel that you don't feel comfortable with the situation and they want to get you out of your comfort zone and really push you into this uncomfortable situation in order to get what you get more out of this deal. And we really as I know what can happen, what situations can happen, we already make role plays, and I really exactly say what they like. I make a communicative plan, what they can say during different situations. And one key hack I always say also in that situations is, especially for those people, is do not plan how to give concessions, because when you only plan how to give concessions, you will definitely land with such an assertive person. You will definitely land at your walkaway point. So what I recommend is also a mindset shift, away from the mindset. Okay, where can I concede to really save the deal, into the direction of what can I demand more to get my ambitious aim. I mean, it is both sides are flexible. Both sides signalize a flexibility during negotiations, but the one hand is flexibility by going down and losing value, and the other one is, okay, the other party sets an aggressive goal and wants down, and then I say, okay, well, you want to pay 80, okay, well, then it's 10 days. Okay, interesting, I heard you. And I don't go into it, but I say, interesting. What do you think if we take 10 more vacation days, and when we increase the salary to 25,000, because when I accept this, I wanted 100. We get to 80, and next year we can do 105, for example. This would be a solution. So you put more demands into the negotiation, and you always get back to the height. Yeah, your negotiation partner gets to 80, you get to 105. Like that, you always get back with other options. And for this, it's very important to understand what your needs are, what you really want, and how we can develop different options and collect demands that you can use during negotiation.
Amazing. In your experience, when companies are moving actually from their traditional sales to value-based sales, what are the main challenges they face?
The main challenges is really to get past the fixed pie assumption, what I explained earlier, to really open the mind and be creative, be ready to be creative, and to really integrate the mindset that there is more to get than what we think there is at the negotiation table. And then the next challenge is really, and that I see very, very often, is that people don't know how to ask for, how to pose the right questions in order to get the relevant information, and also to get the other party, because often the other party doesn't know how to react, and they are in the fixed pie perception. So you have to get the other party out, and you have to prepare to think what might be interesting for the party, create hypothesis during the preparation phase, and to try to validate them during the negotiation, and to ask, hey, would this be a possibility? Would that be a possibility? Create options that for yourself have the same value. For example, 100K without nothing, 105K, 80K now, next year 105 plus 10 days vacation, 5,000 euros coaching budget, 90,000 euros I don't know, 90,000 euros salary and 5 days more vacation. So you really create different packages, and even though the other side don't tell you openly when you ask them specific questions, they will tell you which of those options they prefer. And the nice thing about those options is you can put, this is a tactic, you can use them in order to signalize the other party that you're conceding, even though you're actually not conceding, because you're creating, and that you have to prepare, you're creating options that have the same value for you. No? But when the other party said, oh no, this is too high, then you can say, okay, what do you think about this option? And then when the other party says still, no, it's too high, and say, well, I already conceded so much to you. Now you have to also come with a good option and offer me a good option as well. So you are able to ask also something in return. This is also one of the most important things. Quid pro quo, I call it from, it's a Latin saying. And it means don't give anything in without getting something back. And when you gave something in, this is a very good tactic to signalize, I'm conceding, I'm flexible, I'm trying to find a solution. When you do this 2-3 times, then you're ready to say, okay, well, now I really conceded, I already made so much offers, please come, please also make a good concession to me, or make a good offer to me. No? Improve your offer, please.
Okay.
And why does it work? Why does it work? Because it's a very, very strong need of people. It's a reciprocity. When I have the feeling that I got something from you, I have the urge to give something back. The funniest thing is when you have when you move to a new area and you bring, I don't know, a small cake and say, oh, thank you, I just wanted to present myself, I'm the new neighbor. And then they think, oh my God, they came for cake. We have to make, I don't know, we have to go to the special shop and buy the hugest cake they have, because I don't want them to think that we gave them something less. So this is also a very good tactic, but I think we can talk about that for hours, and how you can use psychological phenomena to get what you want, to get more of what you want in the negotiation. I think we can talk for days if it's for me.
Sure. You said that you spend actually a lot of time in the preparation of a negotiation.
Mm-hmm.
And you have already shared part of this preparation, and you have already said that a lot of it actually is communication with the parties, right? So that we better understand what they want and see actually how this could be reached from different ways. My question to you is, when those are partners in completely different industries, they speak completely different languages, how do you prepare for exactly this, working with partners from very, very different industries?
From very different industries.
Yes.
Well, the important thing is, what really helps is assimilize to the other parties. So what I mean about that, and really to see, okay, which wordings they use, what is important for them, what is their KPIs, really getting as much information as possible from the other party. Maybe even talk to an insider from this industry and say, okay, what wordings should I use? What is really important? What are the big challenges in that industry? To really present myself as someone who is really knowledgeable, or who at least is interested in understanding the other party.
Yes.
Yeah, and this is in the industrial parts. This is not a problem, because you can overcome this. And the funny thing is, when you see when you see the other person, mirroring is very, very strong. So even though you're not a profound specialist in that area, what you can always do is mirroring the gestures, mirroring the mimics, and so creating common ground and creating some sort of togetherness, or we are like a similarity between you. This is very, very helpful in negotiations, that you can always use, that you can also use internationally, actually. But also when you have people from different industries, or when you're not like very firm in the from the content wise very firm, you can always mirror the other person, and also like the gesture when the person is putting one leg on the other or doing this or this. It's it signalizes, okay, we are close to another, and I want to understand you, and I want to be I want to connect with you.
Sure. Could you, thinking of the past maybe 1 to 3 years, could you share an example of how you had a customer or a partner prepare for a very, very successful negotiation, something that you were really very proud of?
An example?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You don't need to name the company. It's okay that you say in which industry and how you helped them prepare and why it was especially successful.
Yeah. I have to pay attention that it's not too clear. They're really. I always what is my unique USP is that I'm very, very creative and I'm always finding solutions and ways and offers that are not expected of anyone, not from my client and also not from the other party. So it's always something, not always, but in very difficult situations, you have to do something completely different sometimes in order to get away from the conflict, or to get away from the problem, or to get away from a negotiation breakup. So you have to come with something completely different. And so this is why, like, I have many stories, and they're all of those stories are very unique. But maybe one story, maybe one case. It's also a mergers and acquisition case, and in that case, the funny thing is, it's not a funny thing, but the other party was coming from a very rich family and had a baby that he wanted to sell. It was not a big case. It was just a few millions, but it's for those people it was a big deal, and for him it was also not really about the money, but definitely about the appreciation. So the problem, the background was, he was from a very well-known rich family, and they actually didn't give him the possibility to work in their own company. But they gave him a bit of money, and yeah, you can do something else. So, and he always, like in a psychological way, it was always a big problem for him, and he always wanted to get appreciation back from a family. That's actually, he didn't say that, but during the negotiation, it was very clear for me that this is actually the case, and this is what I mean by really being empathetic and try to find the layers below the position, because the position was, I want 3 million for this company. This company, I mean, okay, of course, it's always interpretation how much value the company has, but my client actually, they wanted to pay half of it ideally. And I know when I came to them, they said, well, maybe you should try to pay, I don't know, 2.4, but it's always so far away. And this is the funny thing. This is the next funny thing, is the first number in a negotiation that is set has the biggest impact on the result. So what happened in the mind was, oh, he wants 3 million, so we have to come near 3 million, otherwise we won't be able to do the deal. And that's not always true. Of course, sometimes it can be true, and sometimes the person is also fixed on that. But you have to make sure in those situations sometimes to be the first to present an offer, because the possibility is high that the final value will evolve around that anchor, as we call it, cognitive anchor. And what we actually did is we had a very appreciative approach. So I recommended to really go through the company, go through the products, to really get him involved with his expertise, to say, well, you're the expert. Please tell us, what do we need to do with this simple project? We really want to bring the company to the next level. And so they really worked on it. And he was very open. He opened up and said, well, yeah, you should do this and this, yeah. And then actually when we talked about what needs to be done, we also put a number on it. So we said, okay, well, what do you think? What should we invest for that? Because we really want to make it good. And so we put, at all the projects, we had a number that we needed to invest, and that was in the end that was quite a huge number. And then we said, well, oh, we appreciate that you want this prize, and I mean, we can totally understand it. On the other hand, we have, as we elaborate it together, and this is the hack, together, you don't present him with the number, but you develop it together with him. And this is really a hack. I hope not so many people are listening, but actually, then you develop it together with the other party, and then in the end, there's a huge sum. There's actually a huge sum, and then you say, well, we have this budget, but we have to pay with this budget the company price and the development price, and we really want to make a big thing about it. And we would really also appreciate that if you stay in the company, have a part in it, because also the person knew that the new owners, they are very fit and that they're really capable of putting the company to the next level. So what he can also say, so in the mind it was, okay, he has still part at this company, but he doesn't need to do anything. And we focused on, okay, let's focus on the press, what we will tell the press, how we bought this company and how we want to develop this company. And the interesting thing is that the company, it didn't have such a big EBIT. It had a huge potential, but a very low EBIT. So we had the ability to say we give a very high multiple on the EBIT, and we put a press release on that. So the family doesn't need to know that the EBIT was quite small, as it was a private company. But in the end, we could actually have a very nice story that really offered him the value. So for him, I would say 99.99% of people, 1.5 million would be a huge sum. But for him, it was a much higher value to present the right story to his family and to the market, and to really get out with a proud to have created something big, and that
Yes.
people in his surroundings have this impression of him. So you always have to see, it's not always about the money. You have to understand the real needs of the person, especially in this is a very special situation. It was a very special situation, but actually I saw the situation in similar ways quite a few times, especially with private deals and big company and big families.
It's absolutely amazing. I honestly could listen to you till tomorrow. It's really fascinating. You have just amazing stories. I didn't even ask half of the questions that I have prepared, and our time is up. Will you grant us the honor of having you another time?
Pardon?
Will you grant us the honor of having you another time if we can have a second session in the near future?
Yes, we can. Of course, we can do this.
That's absolutely
It was
amazing.
very pleasant with you, Mark. Thank you. Your questions were great, and thank you for your interest also in this topic. I mean, I can talk about that and for weeks, and it's always also nice to have someone who's interested and who poses also the right question and follows good. So thank you.
Honestly, I think what you do actually is part of our everyday life. We every day actually negotiate with others a lot of things, personal and professional. So I'm very, very happy to listen to this, and I genuinely would like to continue. As I said, I still have like at least 10 questions that I haven't asked, that I have prepared. So we definitely need a second session, but thank you very much for having accepted that. I look forward to the second session.
Thank you. Me too.
Thank you very much, Martina. It was really great to have you. Thank you.
Thank you.